What's up, guys? Welcome back to the video. We're here at the San Francisco City Championship, the longest running municipal golf event in the country. It's 2 days of stroke play qualifying, and then the top 64 move on to match play. The first day, today, we're here at TPC Harding Park. Tomorrow, we're at Lincoln Park. Two very different tests of golf. We got 18 holes. We're teeing off on number 10. Let's go see if we can qualify. So I actually hit a pretty good drive on this first hole. I was shaking on that tee, but I actually found a divot in this first cut, which the lie was okay, but it ruined any chance that I had to go for it. So I was just chipped out a 7-iron to a good wedge distance. I just don't want to.
No, I think it's the right call.
Second hole is a par 3. It was over 195 yards. From the tee, the pin looked like it was really in the back, a bit deceiving, to be honest. So I didn't want to hit anything that would go past this hole. So I had a 6-iron, and I actually hit it really great. We had a pretty prevailing wind coming off the right, so I just started at the right edge of the green, and the wind started bringing it back. But you know, it carried pin high. It just ended up in this bunker and didn't draw enough, and I was left with this fried egg. Kind of like, you can't see it from this video, but there's probably about 5 to 8 yards beyond the pin, so I probably could have gotten away with a 5-iron and like chipped it a bit, but you know, it's fine. I was able to get this out, leaving me about 30 feet from my par. Hit a really good putt here. I just didn't give it enough to get to the hole. You can see my friend Aaron, who's caddying for me in the back, like waving it on. Definitely a little bit of testing early. I mean, this looks a lot shorter here, but when I was standing over it, it felt kind of long. But in the first 2 holes, that's my ball in a divot and my ball in a fried egg, which is kind of a theme you'll see through the rest of this front 9. It's just like getting really unlucky on some of the breaks. 12th hole, well, 3rd hole today, but it's a 12th hole on the scorecard. This dogleg left par 5. It's very gettable. It's pretty short. To be honest, like, I'm going at those trees on the right side and not even thinking about trying to draw it around the corner, but sort of got away with it here, and maybe a bit of a toe ball, and ended up drawing and hit just a fantastic shot up the middle of the fairway, which leaves me about 210 yards into this hole, which just looks so cool on this morning. My ball had a bit of mud on it though, so we were going to a left pin, which is tucked behind that bunker, and we were never going to go for it, right? But the mud was on the left side of the ball, and if you didn't know, the ball will curve away from the side that the mud is on, so this ball was going to cut, or it should cut, right? And so I was just going to start it up the gut right on the middle of the right side, and it did just that. It got a little squirrely towards the end, but it held its line pretty well, leaving me about 40, 50 feet for my eagle. The green sort of, it looks like it wants to go left, but the slope kind of coming off the bunker on the left sort of pushes it to the right a bit. So it's a pretty straight putt. I hit a good one here. I had really good speed. We moved 3.5, 4 feet for my birdie, which so you can't see the hole, but it's about 4 feet in front of my ball. Fortunately, we're able to, spoiler, but we're able to tap this in for my birdie and get the bogey back from the last hole, which felt really good. Fourth hole is a really good one for me. It's sort of a hole that, like, if I'm playing well, I'm gonna hit a good tee shot, but if the round isn't going my way, like, I can kind of get away from me. So you really want to push yourself over the bunker on the right side, because if you're hitting driver, because if you hit a driver at those trees on the left, you're going to be blocked out on the approach if you hit something that goes like 270 plus. So wanted to go right at the bunker, and I think I just got a little bit in front of it, and it faded a little bit more than I would have liked, but I actually had a pretty good look at this from about 125 yards. So I have a gap wedge. I actually didn't want to drop because I liked the lie so much. So I was like, I'll just stand on the cart path, which, looking back at it, just wasn't a great idea, because it ended up being like an all upper body, all arm swing, and it just was like a dead pull right into the bunker, which is just a terrible spot to this pin. Super short-sighted when there was so much room right. So this was like the first like mistake that I feel like I had made. And just got too cute with this bunker shot. Tried to hit it a little too soft, and it ended up being short in the rough, leaving me this like testy, tricky little chip down the hill where everything's like working away from me. To be honest, like speed-wise here, I actually hit this pretty good. It got the right distance of the hole. I just never got it high enough to feed down the slope. So I had like 7 feet for my par. I never felt comfortable with this line, just never knowing how much it was going to break, which is never a good place to be. But I think I missed this on the low side. And so that's a double on the fourth hole. But I didn't feel like it was like, I didn't really make any really bad swings, just a bad decision, which for some reason doesn't affect me as much, which is kind of silly. Fifth hole is a long par 4. The main idea here is just kind of hit it at the center of the fairway to the right side, and you'll have a better angle into the green, even though you might have a ball above your feet. Hit a good shot, faded onto the right side of the fairway, I believe, in the first cut. Yeah, happy with this after the double bogey. All right, sixth hole. I'm getting these numbers so confused because we start on the back nine. So I think this was my sixth hole. It's dogleg left, par 4. It's a really good hole because that bunker, if you go straight at basically there's water or lake all along the left side. And the further left you go, the more you try to cut the dogleg, like the greater risk you have of hitting the trees and having it drop down or kicking into the lake. So it's really hard to go after the left side because there's like a big dip. And so the smart play is hit it at the bunker or a little bit left of it with like a hybrid or a fairway wood. I think fairway wood's a little bit too much if you carry it anywhere from like 250 to 260. I actually hit a really good shot here. I think the wind may have just taken it a bit too far right. You'll see it there, and it landed about a couple yards right of the bunker and then sort of like kicked left and started to roll in, but it didn't make it into the bunker, which you'll see right here. This was a crazy lie. The ball was probably 2 to 3 feet above my feet, standing in the bunker. It was just never going to be a good result. So fortunate that it rolled down to the fairway, and I have about 105 yards to this back green with a ton of room to work with. So super straightforward wedge shot that I felt pretty good about. I was a little scared of going long because I've been long on this green so many times, and it's just such a dead spot to be. chipping back because it slopes so aggressively from back to front. Ball by my feet a bit, thought it might draw and it just doesn't, but right side to this pin is like totally fine. It was actually a pretty straight putt from about 25-30 feet that I had the line really good on, but left it about a foot short right in the heart. Tapping for my bogey, it's fine. So I'm 3 over through 6 holes on this front 9, which, you know, it's not great, but we've got plenty of time to make that up and kind of stay where we're at. 7 is the infamous Colin Morikawa hole from the PGA Championship back in 2020. Depending where they put the tees, they had it way up for that tournament, so it was only playing like 280, 290 on Sunday in the PGA. The normal tees, it plays about 340, and so normally it's impossible to get to, and your driver's coming in at those cypress trees on the right that just swallow balls. So this early in the round, without really needing to like press, the smart play is just hit something like 230 down in the middle of the fairway, and then you have like a flip sand wedge or gap wedge in. And so I had about 115 yards to this front pin. Perfect, like very stock sand wedge for me will go 118, 119. So it's a good sand wedge just beyond the pin. This one does leak a little right on me, and I'm begging for it to catch the green. Fortunately, it does, leaving me about 30 feet down this hill, which I thought it would be a lot quicker than it actually was. Again, I had the line perfect, but speed was very wrong. So I had about 3 feet, a 3 foot right to left putt, and I think I played this a half cup or a cup out, so it definitely was moving quite a bit. But hit a good putt, was able to tap in for my par, which is a good score here, even though it feels like you should birdie. The 9th hole is one of those tee shots that can give you a lot of anxiety if you're someone like me. So I play a fade, but my miss is either like an over fade or a toe ball left, and so there's no room to go left here. You have to either hit it straight or hit a fade, depending on your line. Today I took it right at the edge of the clubhouse, or that tree just to the left of it, and just kind of swung hard and hit a really good shot, which feels great. You kind of can't see it with this camera angle, but it landed just left of the bunker and took a huge bounce forward and left. Did end up going in the rough, which was unfortunate because I couldn't tell all day. I kind of had like bad lies and flyers from the rough, but I couldn't tell if they were going to jump because they were kind of sitting down. But I had about 158 yards here to this back pin, and I hit like a chippy 9 because, like I said, I didn't think it was going to jump. I thought that the rough was going to grab the club and come out a little short, but it carried. We'll see here. It carries all the way there, lands probably a couple yards short of the pin, and just takes the world's biggest bounce over the back of the green, which is just wild. Super short-sighted from this spot with just nothing to really work with. I actually hit a really great chip, landed in the right spot. A little bit of a fringe boost, but to roll out to like 4 feet is pretty good. You can see me going to see the line at the on the other way. So I thought I had the line here, but it turns out that it didn't want to break. I hit a really good putt, started exactly on my line, and it just didn't move. coming from the left side. Just kind of see me kind of like staring at it, thinking like, what the heck just happened? So kind of a bummer to end up with a bogey after hitting such a good tee shot there, but 4 over through the first 9. The other course, which you'll see in the next video, is kind of a wild one. Like, I think the lowest score ends up being like 1 under there, whereas Harding is like 5 or something like that. It's pretty diabolical with the pins. The scores are pretty high, and so you kind of have some strokes to work with. And Harding is a place that I normally tear up. I just won a tournament there 2 weeks before this, and so I typically I score really well at Harding, but like I just kind of kept getting some bad breaks on this day, and they just sort of compounded. Flared that one out to the right a bit. You can't see from this camera angle, but there's some trees hanging down that prevented me from hitting a normal wedge. So I had to chip something. It just ended up jumping a little left on me more than I wanted to. I think this actually would have been the perfect number, but I ended up just a little short left, leaving me this kind of like a tricky chip to this front pin. And I felt okay about it, like have a 60 degree kind of play it off the toe and deaden it, but it just sort of jumped out to the left and took a couple hot bounces. I think I had about like 7 feet coming back from my par. I could never really get comfortable with this putt and which way it was going to move. My friend Aaron and I couldn't figure out if it was going to go left, right, or stay straight. I played it right edge, and it just kind of hung out there, and maybe even it kind of like bobbled a bit. I think it was probably a firm center putt, and I just didn't have the commitment to hit it there. All right, the 12th hole today is a par 3. They actually had the tees up, which I was pretty surprised about. But I've got a 7-iron to this elevated green. The line is right in between the middle bunkers at that thick bush on the ground. And I just hit a really bad shot here. Just a bad swing, hit it fat. You can see me look at the ground, which is a bit of a bummer because I typically really like this hole and like the way it sets up. And you'll see here that like I'm probably like 5 to 7 yards short of the front of the green, which is just like really, really short. I had no touch short game wise all day, and I left this about 30 feet short of the hole, which is just so bad. So I'm kind of fighting for, I need a 2-putt to get bogey now. Do not want to make a double. We thought this putt was going to go the other way. Clearly it didn't. And now I've got 4.5 feet coming back for my bogey. Fortunately, I have this exact putt on my roof, on the putting method I have on my roof. So I was able to roll that in for my bogey and keep the score somewhat alive. The 13th hole is a par 5, big dogleg left. It's so long, it's so hard to get there in 2 unless you just hit an absolutely perfect drive. And I tried to swing hard at this, and I had the blocks all day on this second 9, and so ended up in this terrible spot behind the trees. To be honest, I'm lucky I found it because it took a huge bounce off the cart path, which is what I saw from the tee. So I'm just trying to pitch something back into the middle of the fairway. I tried to hit a 7-iron above that tree and ended up blading it under it, which you know, it worked out for me here, but I ended up having a pretty bad lie in this rough. So I had about 190 yards to this like middle to this front pin, and I hit a 6, and it was just a hot pull. You'll see it bounce when it hits, and it just like takes off. So not a great leave, but you know, lots of green to work with. I felt like I could get this up and down for par, and again, just a bit of a hot jumper chip that carried too far, took off left, and rolled out way too far. So now I've got about this. So now I've got this 18-foot right to left slider back up the hill, and I actually hit a really good putt here, but it stayed high and just never came back down. So another bogey, but you know, it wasn't a double, which was totally reasonable with where my drive ended up off the tee.
It will also do that, but like minorly so.
All right, 15th hole is a long dogleg left par 4, but those trees that you see kind of on the right cart path really come in if you take something with like driver. So I'm just hitting a 3-wood back into the wind. I got a little unlucky with where it ended up, just jumping into the rough, leaving me about, I think I had like 198 to 200 yards back into a little bit of wind. You see us here like trying to figure out how it's playing or what we should do. And again, a bit one of those like it was one of those weird lies where we couldn't quite tell if it was a jumper, if it was going to come out dead. We opted to go for the bigger club with the 5-iron and try and chip something. I actually think we hit the right club and we made the right swing, but we caught it half a groove low and the whole thing just cut right through the wind. See me look down immediately because I know that this is long, and long on this green is so bad. You'll kind of see on this next pitch shot what I'm left with. Yeah, pretty defeated, feeling pretty bad being 8 over with just a few to play today. So kind of in this bad spot. I figured that there was no way we were going to get this close, much less stop it. And somehow I landed in the perfect spot right on the green, and it just sort of rolled out dead. So I've got about 12 feet for my par, and I really wanted to make it after those 3 bogeys in a row. And I put a really good roll on it, and I see it tracking to the hole, and was able to roll it in, which felt really good going into the last 3 holes, which are very gettable, with a drivable-ish par 4 coming up next. So as someone who for me, because I play fade, this hole is really comfortable for me. I started at the left fairway bunker and just swing really hard. We were also downwind over our left shoulder, so it's set up really well for just a hammer fade. I can swing as hard as I want, which typically makes it go a little bit straighter for me, and end up just catching one here. And this is probably like the longest drive that I've ever hit. To be honest, it was the best drive I hit of the entire tournament, both days. leaving me about this like 20-yard pitch shot over this bunker to the green, to this pin. It sort of like slopes away from me a bit. But I hit this kind of like toe down 60-degree nipper and hit this really good, landed in the perfect spot, and we almost thought it was going to go in, but it rolled out just about 4 feet past. An eagle there would have been huge, but it didn't go in, and so the next job is to just make bogey or make birdie here. Again, this was exactly like the roof putt we had on the last par 3, just a little outside left, roll it in, made birdie, huge to get back to 7 over at Harding, especially with a short par 4 ninth coming up. I actually felt really good on this shot. I caught it a little toey, maybe a little fat, and the wind just kind of took it short into this bunker. Looking back at it, like we were into the wind, and I didn't feel any of that. I think because of those trees up there, so I probably should have clubbed up, but had a pretty straightforward bunker shot to this pin with a little bit to work with, and a bit of a funnel sort of feeding it in. So I felt like I get this up and down pretty easily, but I don't really know what happened here. It just sort of, it wasn't a shank, but it shot right on me. It's like low and right. It was kind of weird. And I had about 15 feet from my par, and it was a really tricky putt, sort of up and over this ridge. It's going to go down to the left, but you weren't sure how much left it was going to go, because left of the hole it comes to the right, and so it was just sort of weird. You can't really see the hole, but it's going to skirt just to the right of it, and I just hit a great putt. Playing partners were kind of like groaning because they're like, oh man, that should have gone in, but you know, another bogey. It stinks to put one after the birdie, but the ninth is a very gettable par 5, or the 18th hole of the day is a very gettable par 5. Wind sort of coming into and off the right. I knew I could hit this hard and typically be fine at the left side, but like I said, I had the blocks all day with the driver, and this is probably the worst drive I've ever hit on this hole. I actually ended up on 10, the first hole, the 10th hole of the day, but the first hole normally in this greenside bunker, and I wanted just to hit an iron down up one fairway, leave myself a wedge in. I thought it ended up going a little bit left on me, and I thought I got stuck in a tree, but fortunate that it came down. So third shot here, and I didn't really have anything, right? And so I could have played out right and tried to wedge on, but I had a bit of a gap. I could have gone through the middle. I couldn't go over. I could have gone under, but with as much rough as I had to carry, I opted for the mid shot, and I just never committed to it, and it just shot right on me. Hit that tree that you see right there and kicked over to the right side of one fairway. So I'm left with this 120-yard shot into the green, hit a gap wedge. I actually had a really good shot. I thought that it was going to be really good. It's a bit shallow coming from this direction, so I didn't want to I got a little conservative with the distance. I didn't want to go long into the bunker on the left side of the green. So I've got this 60-footer up the hill for birdie, and really just trying to lag it up there close. To be honest, I hammered this putt. I couldn't believe that it stayed as short as it did. But I knew that it wasn't breaking. I knew the first putt wasn't really going to move that much, and so I had a pretty good idea about what this putt was going to do. Played it right in the middle of the hole and ended up rolling it in for my bogey. So, like I said, this round could have been a lot worse. I feel like I held it together pretty well on the second 9 to like grind out the score that I did. 9 over by no means takes me out of this tournament, especially with Lincoln Park being 5,400 yards, par 68. Like, you can go out there and shoot a number. It's not easy, but there's enough gettable, scoreable opportunities where you can go make something happen. I kind of liked making this, having a camera out in a tournament. It was kind of fun to rewatch, sort of like a film room type thing. So let me know if you want to see more videos like this, if I can do anything different with the format. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next video, which will be coming out tomorrow. All right, I'll see you there.